It doesn't matter that this is 2 hours long. Everyone has a month to listen to it. Hello and welcome to Tortall Sisters, a book club podcast about the books by Tamora Pierce. I'm Risa.
And I'm Mariana.
And we're the Tortall Sisters, and this is the intro. Okay, so what book did we read this month, sister?
Well, this month, we went kind of back to our roots by going back to, night training in the first of the Protector of the Small series, First Test.
How do we feel about this book?
I really like it.
I love this book.
There is nothing, we will just start with boilerplate, yeah. Overall, honestly, is it a fantastical feat? No. But is it just a really good, well-told story? Yes.
Yeah, it's really well-structured, is what I'll say. While we were writing the synopsis, I was like, wow, this is so much easier than any of the past books. Because every chapter has a nice structure and a beginning and end to it. And it ends up being very slice of life for this book. Mm-hmm. The other books...
I am a huge fan of fantasy slice of life.
Yes,
because
completely.
That is my jam. Treating it like everything's just normal.
Yeah. I love that about this. Actually, this series is really good about that, where we get to learn about, everyday people in this world. And that's the thing about Kel, is that she is really an everyday person. She's still a noble, but she's not a noble. Her family were merchants, and they were given... I
feel like we should start with the,
Well, they don't talk about that in this book, but I just want to say one of the reasons why I really like this series is because her family were merchants, and then they were given...
Dukedom?
No. Yeah, no, he's not the Baron.
No, Barony.
It's a barony. Yes, it's a barony, because he's Baron Pierce.
He's Baron Pierce? Okay.
Yes.
Now, are we saying Piers or are we saying Pierce?
I was saying Pierce. Okay,
that's what I say in my head, but probably because that's how you said it to me, and therefore that was my first...
But yeah, and they're diplomats, so the whole thing is that, Alana was chosen by a goddess, and she's got the bluest of blue blood. Dane was literally a demi-goddess, right? And now Kel is just someone. She's just a person. And that makes me love her so much more. I love Alana and Dane. They're fantastic. But Kel is, a warrior of the people.
She really, as dorky as that sounds, she absolutely is. She is one of my inspirations for, just the way this whole thing is. She's one of my inspirations for... not destined, but determined,
Yes.
It's no, she doesn't have some great fantastical destiny that's been assigned to her by the gods that we know of.
Once we get to the third book, we get into it, but otherwise, it's just because she willed it so.
And she's the first of these ladies we've read about that didn't have magic.
Yeah.
And it's she doesn't have that extra boost that the others have. But so we get to see her connection to everything from, a natural point. That's it. It feels like you're more in it because everything is so, also probably because I've been playing Skyrim. So I think that, atmosphere has been sort of in my brain. So, yeah. Okay. But do we want to get into the synopsis then? Yes.
Okay, so this book is weird because we had 11 chapters and no epilogue, as opposed to all of the other ones, which have had 10 chapters and an epilogue. So...
one of which had a prologue. That was bazongers.
That fucked me up. I got to chapter 10 and I was like, wow, this is going to be a really long chapter. And then there was a chapter 11 and my mind was blown. Okay. So, starting with chapter 1. 10 years after King Jonathan had proclaimed that girls could earn their knight's shield, one had finally taken them up on it. The king meets with Lady Alana and Lord Wilden, the training master, to discuss the situation. Lord Wilden only agrees for the girl, Keladri of Mindolin, to come to the castle for training under 2 conditions: that she go through a year of probation, and that Lady Alana not be allowed to interact with the girl. Jonathan agrees, and Alana storms out, saying she will find work away from the castle on her own. Thank you very much. And I love that scene, because the end of it was like Jonathan and Lord Wilden looked at each other, wondering if they had ever heard Alana speak to him like that.
It's like, oh. And considering the ways we know how she has spoken to him in the past, it's like, oh, so this was, like, the most severe.
And, like, to be fair, like, Lord Wilden, with the second point of keeping... I understand Lord Wilden saying that Alana can't be a part of it, because Alana... You know, people are talking about how Alana obviously slept her way through her knighthood, and
or
she
used
magic her way, you know. People helped her cheat. So it does make sense. Honestly, that is for Kel's benefit.
It is.
That he does that.
Oh, that is one overall thing from this book. I understood Wilden so much better this time around. I was like...
As an adult, yeah.
Yeah, as an adult, it's like, oh, no.
He's still...
He's like...
He's a
he
sexist
is being
fuck.
Fair,
but
like, he does have a prejudice, but he is actually treating it fairly. He's like, if you can do this, he's not giving her anything extra.
Yeah.
Like,
and the fact that Alana's like, well, you never make the boys go through probationary period, and he goes, maybe we should. Just straight up, maybe we should. And you know what? Yeah.
He's not wrong. Maybe actually let 10-year-olds try it out.
I know.
And then commit to it.
Yeah, fucked up. Okay. Keladri and her parents look over the letter from the palace regarding her acceptance to the program, as well as her probationary period. Kel and her parents had just spent the last 6 years living in the Yamani Islands, making a peace treaty. Kel still behaves in the way the Yamani believe in, keeping all emotions inside and out of their face. Kel feels that the probationary period isn't fair. None of the boys have to do it. Her mother urges her to reflect before making any rash decisions, so Kel goes for a walk to think it over. On her walk, she spots some village boys trying to throw a sack of kittens into the river, and she starts a fight with them. They run away from her, and she wades into the river after the sack before seeing a spidren come down and grab the sack itself. She watches as the spidren eats 2 kittens, just straight up bites them in half, which, like... What the fuck, Tammy?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you doing this to me?
I have a couple of parts where basically, like, my reaction was, what the fuck, Tammy?
Yeah.
A lot of them involve spidren, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, honestly. It's like, I'm not afraid of spiders, but the spider fucking, no thanks.
No, thank you.
Goosebumps when I think about them. So she watches as the spidren eats 2 kittens, and then she tries to go after it with just rocks to try and save the other kittens, after using her horn to call for help. So thankfully she did think that through.
Yeah, she at least did the right part. She just did. And then she threw herself away.
Because that's what she does. And that's just like what happens the entire 4 books.
I identify so hard
I know.
Like, I remembered things that I did as a kid suddenly that I'd forgotten. Do you remember when I set up an anti-sexual harassment?
I do.
Or did you set it up and I backed you?
No, you did it. I was the one who set up the trash picking up program because I was given a clipboard, so I had to set up. I love that about, like, I'm thinking back on being, okay, well, they gave me a see-through pink clipboard, so I took a piece of paper and made everyone sign up to collect trash on the playground. I was in first grade, by the way.
Weird thing. Is this normal? This doesn't seem normal, right?
No, that's normal. That's normal. I deal with enough children that's something that children do. Like, that's not weird. I mean, it is definitely weird, but they do it anyway. Little girls are just like that. So she tries to climb after the spidren. I'm getting back to it. But she looks down and is paralyzed by her fear of heights because apparently her brother, she's got like 3 brothers, Connell, apparently held her over the edge of a tower when she was 4 years old. And just now she's terrified of heights. So that's fun. Yeah, I hate that brother.
Yeah, apparently you're not alone, because spoiler alert, later someone says to her, oh yeah, I knew your brother. She's like, don't worry, I don't hold that against you. It's like, oh, thank God.
Thankfully, help arrives to kill the spidren and save the rest of the kittens. Kel decides that she will go to the palace despite the probationary period. Kel dreams of the time, then the next, that night, Kel dreams of the time.
Because the night after a change has been introduced, the main character has to have a dream reflecting upon said change.
Yeah. It's a memory of the time that her mother saved Yamani artifacts from Scanran raiders, which is an incredibly badass thing. Her mom.
Oh my God.
It's like, I want the book series, but I want to know about her mom's
for
past.
Real. Can we get young Elaine, please?
Yes. Apparently she was flirting with all the men, because everyone's all like, send your mother my regards. And
right?
She's like 5'10". She's got like premature white hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, I love this woman.
I love that Kel ends that dream with, oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, yeah. She wakes up and decides she wants to be a hero like her mother.
Yeah. Just ending it like that, because she's just like, I'm going to be a hero like Mama. Like the lioness. It's like, she's just a secondary thought. It's like, my mama is the fucking baddest ass.
It's true, though.
And it's true. She's amazing. I actually have several Post-its saying that.
She apparently kicks ass with a glaive, and just, like, and that's why then the family was able to be accepted into the inner circle of the Emperor of the Yamani Islands.
Yeah.
And that's how they were able to, like, broker a peace treaty and get a royal marriage.
Yeah.
So it's just like, because she kicks ass. I also love her dad, Pierce, because he's like 5'4" and like balding, and he's just like, I also love him.
Yes. He's kind of like Sir Miles Light.
Yeah, a little bit.
In how he feels, not actually his personality, but
it's like... It's the dry humor.
Yeah. It's where she gets it. Chapter 2. Kel and her father go to meet Lord Wyndon. The training master questions Kel and restates that she is there on probation, but will be expected to keep up with the others. Salma, the head of servants of the page wing.
Yeah.
That was hard to say for some reason. I'm sorry.
By the way, that's never stated.
It is never stated. It's just in the appendix.
Yeah, there's an appendix with cast of characters in it, which thank fuck.
Yeah, for real.
And it actually is like head of servants in the pages wing, and I was like, you probably should have said that in the book as well, but I'll let you off.
I'll let that slide. Because I'm sure you rectified it in a later book by saying it. Is assigned to get Kel settled in. She tells Kel some things about the palace, but they are cut off by, well, not really. She leaves her there, but I decided to put it as they're cut off by a surprise. When she gets into her room, she finds that some of her fellow pages decided to give her a nice welcome by trashing her room and writing the He-Man Woman Haters Club creed on the walls. Being, no girls allowed, get out of here, girly, you'll not last, bullshit. Yeah.
I'm just trashing all of her stuff.
They're
just taking
very creative.
I mean, they are 10 to 13, so they are basically the age of the He-Man Woman Haters.
No, they aren't, though, because the He-Man Woman Haters are like 6.
They're like 5 or 6, yeah.
That's 6-year-old behavior.
It is. But yeah.
But it is common teenage boy behavior.
It is.
Shouldn't be. Anyway, Salma is angry, but not surprised, and while incredibly hurt, Kel shows no emotion at all. Like a stone. Because that's apparently the Yamani saying that her mother tells her. She's like, be like stone. Be
a stone.
Yeah. And so we don't note it, I'm sure, but that is her mantra throughout the entire book. Anytime anything happens, it is, I'm stone.
Yeah.
She's just like, I put on my stone,
Yeah.
It's good. Salma tells her that she will clean her room up and tells her to go change for supper. Kel was planning to wear a tunic and breeches for their communal dining, but in a boss-ass move, elects to wear one of her gowns instead. They are aware she is a girl, but she's going to rub their faces in it.
I love it. God, it's so good. She's like, you know what? They're like, they already aren't going to forget, so better make it completely clear to them.
Right? It's like, damn straight, girl. Before supper, the first-year pages are assigned sponsors. Older page... I like how I said it, sponsors. So you know that it's not sponsor. Sponsors, older pages who can show them the ropes and help them adjust. Here we are introduced to some people, so I'm just going to do a quick rundown. We have the first years, who are Merrick, Esmond, Quindon, and Sievert. And their sponsors are respectively, Phaleron, Cleon, Zahir, and Prince Rold, eldest child of King Jonathan and Queen Fayette.
We know him. We've met him before.
The one who is engaged now due to the workings of Kel's father. So
that's nice.
She's just like up in his business.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, but that's where she lives.
Diplomat's child.
Right. When it is Kel's turn to have someone volunteer to sponsor her, because they make her go last, because...
They're assholes.
Duh. No one speaks up until Joran, a handsome young man, speaks up with malicious intent. Like
Joran of Stone Mountain.
Joran of Stone Mountain. Honestly, he has future date rapist behaviors. And
he does.
They are just such red flags. I'm like...
He's also very Draco Malfoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm just saying. Blonde hair, white blonde hair and everything.
Despite the way the kids try to paint it and being like, oh, yeah, Wilden will love me for doing this, and da-da-da. It's like, Wilden sees this and does not allow him to torture Kel. He's like, no thanks, bro. But instead decides to frame it as, maybe you should concentrate on your studies.
Yeah. I do. That's like the little things, because Wilden is definitely a fucking asshole. He's a prick.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like, the entire book. But there
He's
are
definitely
little
rooting
things.
against Kel.
Yeah.
But he accepts what is fact.
Yeah. So, at least there's that.
Yeah, and we can talk about that when we get to that chapter.
Yeah.
But, oh, yeah, instead, a tall young man named Neil, please, volunteers. Neil is 15, but still technically a first-year page. He's also a verbose wise-ass and immediately gets punishment, but is allowed to sponsor Kel. And I noted that I love how he just does all that because he sees a kid who just doesn't want to or deserve the negative attention on her, and instead he's like, hello, I am your lightning rod of attention and hate.
I am your lightning rod of hate.
I'm taller than you, so... I'm gonna be, attracting the lightning better.
To know, Kel actually goes, I can sponsor myself. I can figure it out. And Neil seeing that goes, fuck.
No, but she doesn't, she says that while...
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
he's getting himself
in
trouble with Wilden. Because he immediately starts getting himself, basically detention. And it's just like... Dude, shut up. That's 3 weeks. 6 weeks. That's just like...
Yeah.
Bro, stop. I also seriously identify with Neil.
Yes, you do. Neil has I pity your children energy.
Strong I pity your children energy.
No, I will not explain.
But yeah,
if you guys followed Krollmeister Sisters, you would already know this story.
Probably. Sorry. They get to the mess hall and everyone... No, wait, I skipped, sorry.
Yeah.
Neil goes to start showing Kel around, but Kel doesn't trust his intentions. He tells her
She's like, we're not kin. I'm below you in rank. What are we?
Like,
what am I to you?
What are you? What do you want from me?
I'm 10.
Fair.
Yeah. And then he goes, direct little thing, aren't you?
Yeah. Neil's good.
Yeah, he is.
So he tells her that he has grown up watching Alana and other women fight, so he knows women can be warriors and wants her to get a fair shot.
Yeah, side note, it's Nealon of Queen's Cove, as in Duke Baird's son.
Yeah.
The castle, the chief of healers.
Yeah. Which
his son.
I love getting to see him again.
I know, I love Duke Baird.
Like, oh! And then, contextualizing him with Lady Elaine, it was like... Where was I? Oh, yes. They get to the mess hall and everyone is staring at Kel while Neil is seemingly unaware of it. Deflectoroni. Neil exposits that Wilden, whom he hatefully refers to as the Stump, and I'm glad I got to be the one to tell you guys that, let me tell you, is resistant to change, as well as the fact that Lord Wilden is, or when
No, Wilden.
I put Wind in there because I've been playing Skyrim again. Lord Wilden is scarred due to his bravery and protection of the royal children in the Immortals' War.
In the Battle of Port Lagan.
Yeah. Which, whew.
We know that one.
Yeah, we know that one. After supper, Salma gives Kel special keys and magically sealed locks so no one can get in and fuck with her shit. Neil reminds her that they will find other ways to do it, but, like, at least that's in the open where, like, people can see and not her private space. I get it. That's a violation. You don't need that as a girl in an all-male place.
Definitely not.
Oh, they run into Taka, the basilisk friend of Dane. You remember her. And we learn how he now teaches about immortals. Here, Kel tries to bow and curtsy at the same time. It isn't important, but I love it. Her entrance done, Kel rests before her first day as a page.
So, chapter 3. Kel makes friends with the sparrows who live in the courtyard outside her window. She and Neil get everything she needs from the palace stores for her first year as a page. Her first day of classes, the next day, starts with unarmed combat, taught by 2 Shang warriors. Hakuin
is what I was saying.
Okay. Hakuin the horse and Etta Bell the wildcat. Oh, we know her.
Wildcat? Oh my god.
So she is Liam from the first, Ironarm, his teacher.
Sad, short-lived Liam.
Yeah. But apparently he has a prince named after him, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Apparently the royal family can only name people after other people, as you have noticed.
Other dead people.
Yeah, you have to name them after dead people.
Gotta be dead.
So one of the princes is named Liam.
The Harry Potter school of making your children.
Kel accidentally taps into her Yamani training and nearly throws Hakuin, who finds it hilarious. He then makes her teach the other pages how to fall. So we didn't go over this, but in the Yamani Islands, they make all of the ladies at court learn how to protect themselves. So they all have to go through training. Yeah. They all have to, like, learn the glaive and learn a bunch of, like, self-defense moves as well. So So Kel has been learning this for the past 6 years, so it's kind of ingrained in her. So before she left, her oldest brother, Anders, told her, don't show off any knowledge, like, that you know outside of, like, what you're being taught. Otherwise, all the boys will think that you're just trying to show off and act better than them. And she's like, you're right. He's my favorite of her
brothers because, like, he gave her solid advice.
He did.
Like, it all came into play. It was...
And he actually cares about her.
Yeah, that too.
Her middle brother is okay, because we see him later. But, like, Anders is a bro. Yeah. And then immediately her first day, she's being, like, they're like, oh, we're gonna learn how to fall, right? She knows this, but then the moment that he, like, takes her hand and, like, tries to pull her down to fall, she's just, like, training kicks in. Then, in weapons practice, Kel gets completely ignored by Wilden and the weapons master, Ezekiel. So they're doing staff practice, and when everyone's being watched, they're just doing it. She's going on one-on-one with one of the other first-year pages. And then when they switch partners, she looks across to see Joran. And he just fucking tries to beat her up. But what happens is that one of his boys... It's Joran and the boys, by the way.
The boys.
One of his boys.
Some of them are interchangeable.
Honestly, they are. All of them are. In the next book, they're less interchangeable because it matters. But who does what? But in this one, they're all interchangeable. But he, like, one of his boys picks the fight with Neil so that Zico and Wilden are drawn over there. And then, like, the other boys step in between so that no one can see what's going on with Kel and Joran. And Joran just tries to beat the shit out of her. However, this ends
like, what the fuck, bro?
She ends up using her Yamani training to stop him, getting more heat from Wilden for doing so. Archery proves to be difficult for her, not because she is confusing it with her Yamani training. She's just shit at archery. And gets really flustered.
Which is a refreshing... change of pace from our previous heroines.
Because that's the other thing, is she's not immediately good at everything, and I love that for her.
Girl works
She does. In writing, she is left with the last 2 horses to pick from, one of them just being incredibly just zoned. That horse is not connected with reality. And then the other one being named Peach Blossom, a very large gelding, who is mean as fuck, and just way too big for her. Stefan the Hostler. Stefan, yeah. Oh my god, we go through this every time.
We do.
So,
because I decided, by the way, I made a decision earlier when I was doing my makeup. I was like, you know what? This series is about Stefan.
It is.
Or Stefan. Like, he's the only character to appear in every series. Well, other than Alana and Jonathan, obviously.
Obviously, but who the fuck cares about them? To note, there's another time when Jonathan shows up and Kel is like, he's the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like...
You keep stealing things from myself.
I'm sorry. I thought this had already
fine.
happened. I apologize. But she chooses Peach Blossom because Stefan tells her that he'll probably get killed otherwise. I mean, he doesn't say that. He says, if he doesn't take to the cart or the plow, I don't know what we're going to do with him. And Kel's like, I know what that means.
Yeah.
So
realistic
Kel's
little girl is like,
Kel's like, I need to protect him.
Yeah.
So,
look, a thing I need to protect.
Yeah, exactly. Protector of the small. Peach Blossom's a little big, but,
big, but considered like a small in that, like...
He doesn't have power.
In
life, other than what his hooves and teeth afford him. Because...
And she can see that he's covered in scars, so, like...
And his mouth is, like, stone, she says. Mm-hmm. So, apparently he likes to play tricks. He tries to, like, puff up and intake a lot of air so she can't do the saddle properly. And she, like, kind of knees him a little bit and, like, I know what you're doing and I'll tell on you to Stefan.
He's just like, it's exposited later that the animals have gotten more clever since Dane arrived. But, like, it's so apparent in this
horses are
horse.
just like that. Horses are just like that, okay?
I love horses.
But Kel won't let him get away with his tricks. So, that's it. That's chapter 3.
and Dr. Ray confirms.
That is a thing that horses actually do. Yeah. They're too smart to have as little power as they have.
That's why they are so integral to my the books.
Yeah.
It's like, I love them for that. Anyway, chapter 4, we get to the academic portion of the day. So I said the academic portion of the day comes after the physical, which they complain about, but I would also tire out 10-year-olds before asking them to sit still. So I get it. Tire them out, and then they're less energetic and prone to, like, outbursts later in the day. I dig it. We are pleasantly reintroduced to Sir Miles, as he still teaches history and law, and Master Lindhall. Remember him from the Yamani Isle? Carthack, from Carthack. What happened
there? Are too many fake countries.
Fake countries. And we are, Master Lindhall, who, with Bone Dancer, his skeletal companion, he teaches biology. Kel fangirls a bit over meeting the adoptive father of the lioness, and when she meets Bone Dancer, it is because the skeleton comes to inspect her. Lindhall explains that the dinosaur likes her. Because everything just goes, oh, no, she's good, and I love it.
She's shaped like a friend. All of the animals understand. Kel is friend-shaped. She's really the capybara of people.
I was saying, she's the capybara of people. Like, people are malicious to her, but, like, when they're actually around her, and she's relaxed, it's just like, oh, fall in. Sorry. There we go. She then has class with Taka, who explains his class came about because pages without magic need to be able to understand and combat magical dangers, which I think very wise choice, Jonathan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it wasn't your idea, but at the same time, a good thing to put into place.
Honestly, I think it's really interesting how they have restructured since Alana's time.
It is
it's
really
very
phenomenal.
different.
And
it actually has merits now.
It does.
It was a little weird back in the day.
It was lackadaisical, to say the least.
It was like, and then everyone, you get through that year, now you're just a squire.
There you go. You
Hooray.
just existed with books around and
as a noble. Things. You're a noble. You're fine. You're a squire now. Now they have to, like, take exams and stuff, and I actually think that's pretty good.
Absolutely. Back to that, maybe they should all go through probationary period. It's like, man.
Maybe they should.
This is good. Their final class of the day is etiquette, taught by Master Oakbridge, who is an asshole.
Yeah. He's a Mithrin priest, of course he is. We've met them before.
Yeah. He hands out books and gets his panties in a twist when he sees Kel smile. And it's like, fuck you, dude. She's not allowed to smile when she looks at something. Do you find
something funny about this probationer?
This just reminded me of when I was a kid and Mama got called in because I rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, kids can have a reaction to things,
It's allowed.
It's not like she was disruptive. Anyway, after being ridiculed, she explains that it is because her father wrote the Yamani etiquette book she was given. After Neil attempts again to be the lightning rod, and Kel reminds herself to keep him on a short leash. Rightly so. I think he needed her. Master Oakbridge gets all haughty and is basically like, oh, I guess you know everything your dad does then. And so Kel schools him in Yamani etiquette because she lived there for 6 fucking years in royal company. So yeah, she might know some shit, you fuck.
My favorite part of that, though, is that, and a child knows everything his father knows, and Neil goes, her. And he's like, what? Kel's a her, so everything her father knows. Well, the pages are all boys, so it's proper to say him. No, but you're talking to Kel. You're talking about Kel, who is not a boy, so it would be her. And
he's like, how difficult is it for you to add an additional, gender
pronoun.
To your...
Just a pronoun. So, I love that about Neil.
Yes.
Neil's so good. Really.
Neil comes from a liberal home, I feel. It's just Kel returns to her room to find that some idiot has pissed on her door.
Yeah, just pissed on her door.
Just out of nowhere. Someone pissed on her door.
Smells like urine.
I presume we're meant to believe that it's after her schooling them in Yamani custom. And my response to that is, when did they have the time?
When did they?
The pages all take their classes together, unless they're in the separate magic and non-magic groups. But whatever. At supper, King Jonathan graces the pages with his company at dinner, and we're reminded yet again that he's beautiful. Because every character has to think about how beautiful Jonathan is. Just as when earlier she saw a painting of Theat and was also breathless from her beauty, but these are just requirements. Everybody has the hots for Jonathan and Theat.
They're the most beautiful monarchs. And I say everyone's bi in these books, but not Kel, because she's Arrow Ace. I want that to be known. It is canon. It is, Tammy stated on her blog that, yes, Kel is Arrow Ace. So I'm just putting that out there.
No.
Really?
So she recognizes the beauty, not
She's like, aesthetically, they're beautiful.
It's like, wow, you are quite pleasing to the eyes. I get it.
Yeah. She's bi-aesthetic.
Yes. There you go. There we go. Okay. Kel considers how she feels about the king since he allowed Wilden to make her a probationary page. Does the king wish her to fail? Does it matter?
She's like, maybe I don't want to serve an unjust king. Right. How about that?
She
I won't smile at him.
A joke he said, because she was like, no, I'll serve him, but I will not give him my laughter.
I love her.
I was just like, child of my heart. King Jonathan gives a speech about how he knows they were all affected by the Immortals' War, and he is sorry it happened. But he tells them they are the future and will be needed to continue the peace in their kingdom. And Neil, rightly, is like, no pressure, though. Kel seems unmoved by the speech, but she gets to her room to find her own piece of inspiration. Someone has left her a gift. It contains a beautifully large knife and some resources she will need, and a note which says, "Goddess bless," I believe.
Yeah.
And she knows that at least there's one person who doesn't want her to fail.
Yeah, a belt. She's literally
gets
the package and gets out her belt knife to cut the twine, and it's like, shit, I need to sharpen this again. And then she opens it, and it's like this incredibly expensive belt knife and incredibly expensive whetstone. And she's like, shit, man. So, now, my chapters are all really short, and Ariana's chapters are all really long.
Yeah,
so,
we've noticed, yeah.
all of mine were like the bare bones chapters, and I love that for me.
And it makes up for the fact that there's an odd number of chapters, so you had one extra chapter. So,
I liked the beginning of this chapter. Kel is writing to her parents while she's nursing a foot that has been stepped on by Peach Blossom. She's basically just like, it's basically one of those in a movie where you're telling the story and you're saying nice things, but what you're being shown on screen is like shitty things going on.
See the latest Stranger Things trailer?
I don't know it.
No, it did exactly this.
So it's but like, I'm having a fun time with my friends. And it's just like thinking about people being mean to her and stuff like that. So she doesn't tell them the bad bits, only what she is enjoying, because the Yamani do not whine. Yeah. So she's like, I won't whine because I'm as stone.
Yeah.
She asks for more dresses from home because of her habit of wearing gowns to dinner to remind the boys that she's a girl. And she's like, and you need to take them down a bit because I have already grown an inch. So I love that.
Yes.
Neil
comes, I put a note that I was like captivated by this way of expositing. It was a beautiful version of show don't tell.
It was so nice.
Yeah.
It's like her writing skill improved tenfold between the last book and this one. Like, it is such a pleasure to read.
It really is.
So, then Neil comes along, and he heals her foot. And he's like, and you're saying Peach Blossom didn't try to hurt you? And Kel's like, yeah, if he wanted to do it, he would have broken my foot. Yeah. So, and then she's protesting that the Yamani work through their pain, so she should too. And it's like, man, that internalized shit can kill you, girl. And she's like,
for real.
Lord Wilden works through his pain, and he doesn't get healed, and I see that he's hurting from his injuries. And Neil is like, oh my god, you fucking idiot. You're not a Yamani warrior or the Stump. Like, come on.
And additionally, Stump is like an asshole because of it.
Yeah, like that's part of it.
He's a miserable human being, so if you can get healed, get healed.
Yeah, exactly.
Preach.
He then convinces her to go to Dane about Peach Blossom. So Dane, who Neil obviously has a crush on, agrees to help. She heals Peach Blossom's old scars from his abuse, and she heals his mouth so that he can actually feel what's going on. And she's like, okay, what do you want from me about this? And Kel goes, she's like, I'm not going to change his personality. And Kel goes, I don't want you to. That would change who he is. I don't want you to do that. And Dane's like, well, if you really want, I can try and take him. I can try and buy him for you. And Kel's just like thinking about it. And she's like, well, he'd be in a better home and everything. And then Peach Blossom like looks to Kel and then looks back at Dane. And Dane's like, he says you need looking after. I love it.
It's so
Peach
good.
Blossom loves her, and I love that. But Dane
I love
does
that the people
heal.
those who like Kel are animals, and people with wild magic.
Yeah. But then she gets him to promise to be nicer as long as Kel promises to not use spurs on him. So Dane teaches him some command words instead. So even though Kel might have to wear spurs later, she won't use them. She can just tell him charge, trot, and stuff, and he'll do it. On her way back to her rooms after that, because, of course, Neil offers to walk Dane to her rooms, Kel spots
and she
Joran.
leaves him to do it.
Yeah. Kel spots Joran and his gang picking on Merrick in that hazing kind of way, because at the beginning of the book, Anders tells us that the pages have this thing where the older pages haze the younger pages by telling them to go get them stuff, like ask them to go fetch things for them. But Joran and his gang take it to another step of bullying. So Kel stops and she's like, this is wrong. And they're like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And then she just runs because she's like, fuck, I didn't think this through.
There's like 3 of them. They are way bigger than me and more skilled. Bye.
And then she spends all night trying to like come to terms with the fact that she didn't fight them. She's just like, but am I as bad as them by not stopping them? And she decides the next day that she'll stop the bullying next time. But she does, like, we also see that, like, Cleon, who's a third-year page, asks her to do things like, my turtle dove, go get my ink pot for me. Oh, my dearest, will you go get me my writing gloves and stuff like that? And she's like, fine, whatever, I'll go do it. Because that's, like, the proper, like, hazing thing.
Exactly.
That's what it's supposed to be. Of just asking to get little tasks. Because it's not bullying, so she'll do it.
Yep.
And that's my chapter.
And I love that. Chapter 6. So later that morning, the pages go to the stable for lessons to be taught how to properly saddle and rein their horses.
For tilting.
Sorry, I left that part out. Stefan helps her and tells her that Peach Blossom has been keeping him up to date on the Dane visit. And he's like, Peach Blossom said you didn't want Dane to... You asked Dane not to change him. She's like, no. I said I didn't think we should. Or no, she said she wouldn't. He's like, yeah, but you said you wouldn't have wanted it. It's just like, he's gotten really good at hearing the horses. Anyway.
Okay, no. Stefan is 100% autistic, and I really love him for that. He is so autistic coded, and it makes me so happy.
Yes. I love
He's
him.
like, I care about horses and literally no one else. So if you're nice to horses, like, you're pretty okay in my book. I guess for a human, you're okay.
Stefan clearly is very happy with her and appreciates the kindness to his equine friends. Absolutely. Kel asks who trained him to make him so traumatized. And Stefan assures her that they don't matter anymore. So, like, Stefan murdered this person, right? Because the Stefan I love would do this.
Yeah, I mean, he makes it very clear. Oh, the person who injured Peach Blossom? Oh, you don't have to worry about him.
Yeah,
it's like,
here you go.
Okay.
It's like, well, okay then.
Well then.
Kel joins the other pages to find they have all chosen lances, the new weapon they will be learning, and she has to take the last one in there. Kel has trouble lifting the lance.
It's very important to note that Joran hands her the lance. He does. He hands her that lance. Mm-hmm. So, important to note.
Yeah. Kel has trouble lifting the lance and is embarrassed to see none of the other pages are having trouble. She is embarrassed further by her inability to hit the mark on the training dummies. She was told by her brothers that women had weaker arms, so she assumes that is the trouble. That common...
misconception.
To add to her shame, Sir Raoul, friend of Lady Alana and idiot charger of giants, also sees the display. Just wanted to name his accomplishments in every part of the story. We see his second in command as a Bajir man, which I think is good world building. I just wanted to note that because I like the way Tammy seeds throughout the inclusion of other cultures, whereas everything was very pure when we had Alana. It was all very, like, segregated and, like, we're seeing an actual mixture of cultures. And I also love that Jonathan would want the Bajir present since he is the voice of the tribes.
Which we don't talk about anymore.
We don't talk about anymore, but he is. And it's just like, all right.
Yeah, of course the Bajir would then be welcome in all of these places.
That afternoon...
Also, Raoul is like, that mount is obviously too large for that page. Yeah. And Wilden's like, well, she chose the horse. And Raoul's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you didn't stop her? Like, that, there's, like, total feeling of, like, dude, this is your job. You're not going to stop this.
This is, like, what you're paid to do. I do the fighty, you do the trainee.
That's...
That afternoon, at lunch, Merrick bumps into Kel for the first time since she witnessed him being bullied, and he can't even meet her gaze. She feels like absolute shit.
She can't meet his gaze either. She's like, I didn't stop them.
She was like, I did it, I'm bad. On cue, Cleon shows up to ask Kel to get something for him, and Neil stands up for her. Cleon is like, it's just custom, but Neil is in mother hen mode, so he won't let go. So Kel just runs to get it. This isn't important, I know, but the symmetry of the things in her life need to be noted, just because Cleon, too much Game of Thrones.
Too much Game of Thrones, too much Skyrim. Ariana, keep your mind on the task.
I know, right? This is what I was talking about on Thursday when I was like, I don't know what's happening in the story anymore, guys. The academic portion of her day doesn't go well. She didn't get the reading done, nor did she do her written work. Sir Miles is the only one of her teachers to care to notice that she isn't doing well and ask. She declines to admit she is troubled, but Sir Miles invites her to confide in him in the future. She is giddy to be friends with the father of the lioness. And I noted I didn't remember exactly how much of a fangirl Kel is, and I love it.
I would like to put out there that also her math professor, Mithrin Priest, because she loves math and she's great at it, and she like literally tutors the other boys.
Yeah.
But her math teacher, like, gives her a note on her thing being like, I can't even believe this was from you. Like,
please redo it.
Please redo it for tomorrow. And he doesn't actually, like, call her out on any of it. So she's like, oh, thank God.
She sneaks away from the other pages that evening and speaks to the Wildcat about arm exercises because she decides to not allow herself to be limited.
I love that. I love that so for
much.
her. Chapter 7, Kel takes a stand. Which, like, yeah, good for her. Also, at the beginning of this, I didn't note it down in the synopsis because it's not actually relevant to the story, but when she's doing her arm exercises in the mornings, the sparrows line up along the windowsill to watch her, or they get in her bed because they start coming in through the top shutters when it's cold out, and when she gets up out of bed, they hop into her place in bed.
That's later.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Chapters.
I'm sorry.
Why didn't you just do the whole thing, sister?
I'm sorry. I don't remember what happened in chapters that aren't mine. But yeah, I think that's adorable. That the birds are just like her little cheerleaders. Okay, so one day after writing, Cal drops her lance after cleaning it, and a round plug of wood pops out. After inspecting the lance, she finds that it is filled with lead, and that several other plugs along the lance exist. She realizes that Joran and his gang must have weighted her lance to basically gaslight her into thinking she wasn't strong enough to do it.
I'm gonna be real here. I genuinely forgot about that part.
Oh, really?
And so I gasped. I was like, oh my god!
That's one of the things that I'm always very clear with in my memory, so that's funny to me. But that night, Kel pretends that she isn't in her room, so Neil goes away when he asks her to study, because apparently she just studies with Neil enrolled. I love that for her.
Yeah.
And then after he leaves, she goes to prowl the halls, because that's what she's doing
hunting
now. So she finds what she's looking for in the library. Joran's gang is hazing Merrick cruelly. They're like, go get this, and then they like push it off the table, and he goes it's a whole stupid thing. It's like classic 90s bullies scene.
It's so fucking dumb.
It's like an after school special kind of shit.
Right.
She fights with the boys after Merrick flees, and she loses. She expected to lose, but she's like, I had to do it anyway.
Yeah.
She meets with Lord Wilden after the fight to discuss punishment. She very calmly tells him that she fell, which is the age-old excuse pages use used to not admit to fighting. Because that's literally what her brother at the beginning told her. If you get into fights, they expect pages to get into fights. And if you do, you don't tell on who you don't tell. Otherwise, people will not talk to you anymore. You just have to say, you fell. And she's like, okay. So she goes, I fell. And he's like, girl. Like, literally, he does just say girl.
Girl.
The others fought with you. I fell. If you want to go home, you can go home. You know, do it now before it snows. It'll be way harder. No, thank you.
She says, no, it won't.
No, it won't. And he goes, no, it won't be harder to go home. It's snowing. And she's like, no, I don't want to go home. And, you know, I don't think falling is an excuse for expulsion. And he's so mad at her. And he's like, fine, go see the healer because your nose is broken.
Get out of here, you pleasant child.
I know. He can't even really be mad at her.
Yeah. Oh.
So then she goes, she gets her broken nose healed by Duke Baird, Neil's dad. He heals her up, reveals that he would once dance with her mother. Everyone loves her mom, apparently. And sends her off to bed. After, then Neil is just, like, ranting and raving the entire time. And Baird is like, if you are not going to help, leave the room. Are you coming to your senses to go back to the university? No.
And he sends him out to the waiting room, and we hear him arguing with himself. So good. Anyway, Kel wakes up the next morning by Crown and the other sparrows joining her in bed. The little devils opened the shutters and got in. She sees a foot of snow outside and can't begrudge them. She finds her body still in a painting of bruises despite the healing.
Okay,
and
by the way, to point out, now that I've lived in Colorado and Michigan, just a foot of snow is really funny to me as being like a lot of snow. I'm like, only a foot.
Sure, but remember, first of all, they don't generally get a lot of snow there.
Yeah, I know. It's really funny to me as, like, a person who has now done this.
Yeah.
I'm like, as a child, I was like, wow, a foot of snow, that's so much. And now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, just a foot? That's easy.
Yeah.
I can drive through that.
She finds her body as a painting of bruises despite the healing, and later sees the older pages aren't so lucky because they didn't get bones broken, so they didn't get to go to the healer. Which is just like, ha, you guys played yourselves. Merrick accosts her the moment she steps out of her room and yells that he never asked for her help. She tells him it had nothing to do with him, and she just wanted to pick a fight. A total lie, but done clearly to protect his, like, what?
To be fair, it's not like I wasn't going out of my way to save you. I'm going out of my way to stop this situation. It would have been if anyone else was getting bullied, I would have done something. It's not about you, Merrick. It's about the action that was being taken against you.
Yeah.
She has strong
I mean, no, not
morals.
even, she doesn't even say that to him. She just says to him,
it wasn't about you.
Like, we know that that's her reasoning, but she's just like, no, I just wanted to pick a fight. That's all she'll tell him.
It's not about you. It's about justice.
Later, Neil accuses her of enjoying the pain. She argues that it's what warriors/knights have to deal with, so why not get used to it? As proof she isn't disrespecting custom, she attends to Cleon when he asks her to complete another task, because he's not bullying. He is clearly just flirting with her, and her sweet ace brain doesn't realize it.
She doesn't. I love her.
Good. I love it. It doesn't.
Good. Yeah, she just does not. It doesn't click for quite a while.
Ugh. I love her so much. Anyway, Wilden reminds us that Spydren are out there for no reason. They won't play into the rest of this book.
He's just like, hey, this is a thing, and then keeps going.
They're out there despite the weather.
And Seaver is like, yeah, they killed my dad.
Like, just in case anybody forgot, Merrick's dad was killed by Spydren.
No, Seaver's dad was killed by Spydren.
No.
Yes, because Seaver's the one who
right.
charges later in the book like a fucking idiot.
She yells at Merrick and Neil to take Seaver's down when he goes to fucking, like, go ballistic.
Yeah,
anyway.
I cover that in my chapter, The Spydren Hunt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I take a detail from one of your chapters?
I'm sorry. I'm just excited about the book, okay?
But then he introduces them to the sword. Kel is paired with Esmond, and they end up being impressed with one another's abilities. A newfound respect is now here. Kel goes back to her room and slips on oil. Joran, Vincent, and Zahir are unsurprisingly behind it and show up to be idiots. That's literally just all they do. And they accuse her of tattling, and she's like, guys, I didn't tell. I didn't have to. There were servants who witnessed it.
Yeah.
Midwinter comes, and there are feasts for the pages to wait on, and we remember Alana doing this, and an exchange of gifts. Kel gives gifts very specially to Neil, Gower, Salma, and Prince Rold.
Gower is one of the best characters.
Yeah,
in these books.
I realized something that we never
introduced him. So Gower is the servant who has been assigned to Kel from like one of the actually palace staff, and he is the gloomiest dude. Like he is what's his name?
Marvin.
Marvin Marvin the depressed android or something like that. What is it?
From Hitchhiker's Guide.
From Hitchhiker's Guide. That's who he is. That's exactly who he is.
Yes.
And he is so funny, though, because, like, when Kel comes back and she wakes up the next morning from her huge fight with the boys, and he goes, wow, sunrises come early. And she's like, what?
What? Because she hasn't seen her face yet.
Yeah. But Gower is a real bro. And I love him.
He's rad. And she doesn't want to offend him by giving him just money. And so she makes sure to give him something that, like...
I thought she did give him money.
No.
I thought she gave him a silver noble or something like that.
Oh, that might have been it. It might have been... Yeah. Oh, no, that was it. She doesn't think she could give money to Salma. She knows that that's a sign of respect for Gower. But with Salma, it needs to be something personal. So that's so cute.
That's adorable.
She receives something from Neil and another from Prince Rold and another from Anonymous. This is a powerfully magicked bruise balm, which heals bruises upon contact. It's very good, and I really wish I had it. That would be wonderful. Yeah. She shows the balm to Neil and then admits that she also received another anonymous gift at the start of the year. But they're just like, wonder who that could be.
Who knows?
The birds and her have bonded. The birds and she have bonded. There we go. She and the birds have bonded. I'm trying to edit in real time, and it's just like, dude, stop. Even further, they have taken to following her everywhere. Kel continues to add more training to her regiment because this girl is fucking committed.
Yeah, she literally is like, she's going... she's doing all these things, and she's like, wow, you know what? I'm really out of practice for the glaive. So you know what I'm going to do? I should just add some pattern dances with the glaive, which is basically like Tai Chi, but with a weapon. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I'm understanding from it. She's like, yeah, I'll just do some pattern dances before, in the mornings and before dinner. And it's like, girl.
Just like any spare time I might have, fill it with working out. It's like, girl, this isn't healthy. I'm just telling you right now. It's not. Late February comes, and she finds herself partnered with Zahir one day in sword training. And he takes this as an opportunity to attack Kel, letting his misogyny show. He has some old school Bajir beliefs that he voices.
Yeah.
And it's it's not too much, but it's kind of like...
Stay behind your veil.
Yeah.
Like that.
And she's like, we don't have veils here.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah. She holds her own, but Neil, Merrick, Faleron, and Seaver all come to help their friend. Because they do that thing again where they bunch up and block the view, and so Neil comes to pull them apart, and then when somebody tries to take Neil down, Merrick comes in, and then suddenly Faleron and Seaver are like throwing punches, and it's just
and they all get
mess.
I love it. We didn't even mention that they all have a study group now. There's a whole study group. No, there is. That's why they all stick up for her.
I assumed you'd covered it because it was in one of your chapters that happened.
I totally forgot.
It was in Kel Takes a Stand, I think. No.
Maybe. No, it happened sometime in... Yeah, no, I guess it had to have happened in Kel Takes a Stand?
I think it happens...
I don't think so.
No,
because
Merrick reacts to her poorly, and then he shows up later in chapter 9, I believe.
No, it's your chapter, because in chapter 9, it starts out in the study group, so you're the one who didn't include it. It's in chapter 8.
Anyway, yeah, so they're all punished together. Just it's like a smash cut to them in detention, basically. But they're because it ends with them in whatever. I must have had pages get stuck together, I guess, when I was going through my notes. But anyway, they're her boys, and they...
Yeah, so in this chapter, she, with the festival's end, winter settled in.
So like as midwinter started coming around,
late January, she noticed that Seaver had come and gone 3 different times in one evening, and so she fucked them all up again. It's the Lump, which we haven't even talked about the fact that they call her the Lump.
And you know what was so amazing when I was thinking about it at one point, I think last night, I was like, she's the Lump and he's the Stump.
Yeah, they call her the Lump because she doesn't show any, she's, as stone.
Which is just an asshole way of saying she's friend-shaped.
Exactly.
But yeah. Chapter 9, sister.
People start showing up.
Yeah, whatever. People are in a fucking study group.
Yeah. So the next evening, Kel, the prince, and Neil decided to study in Neil's room. They had just opened their books when someone knocked on the door. It was Seaver, his books under one arm. Behind him stood Merrick's sponsor, Faleron. I need help with mathematics, Seaver told Kel, his dark eyes meeting hers squarely. Would you mind? Kel shook her head. Got space for me? Faleron wanted to know. I need to pick Neil's brain for the paper Sir Miles wants me to write. They had excuses that first time, but apparently making up fresh ones after that was too much work. Merrick came with them the next night and gave no explanations at all. The newcomers became regular additions to Neil's study group. If the boys noticed that Kel left the group once an evening and came back rosy-cheeked from a run through the halls, none of them commented.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I love that.
Yeah.
So one night, during study group, Kel gets up to go for her nightly prowl. When Neil follows, he confronts her about what she'd been doing, and she sticks up for herself that Jordan's gang is doing what he's doing is wrong. He asks why she didn't ask for the others' help, and she says she didn't think she would get it. Now, I have it written down as page 165, because I wanted to read this. So, he says... Oh, wonderful. You're on a hero's quest to get rid of bullies. Kel glared at him. Someone has to. Oh, and if this wish of yours is so glorious, why haven't you asked anyone to join you, We're all would-be knights, aren't we? If you aren't just enjoying the fights, why not ask for help? Kel planted her fists on her hips. Because I had no reason to think I would get it. What? Said a startled voice nearby. Kel and Neil turned towards his door. At some point during their argument, the boys inside had eased it open and cracked to listen. Merrick, you dolt, they heard Faleron say, the door wide open. They all stood
You
there.
hothead.
Even Prince rolled, looking at Neil and trying not to look at Kel. Well, she's good as said. We agree with what Jordan and his pack, stammered Merrick. Kel inspected each of them. None of you ever spoke against it, she replied, picking her words carefully. Even when it was you being picked on, she rested her eyes on Seaver and Merrick. Once it was over, you didn't say how it wasn't right and ought to be stopped. You just came here to Neil's room to work with the group. I figured I was the only one here who thought it was all wrong. I thought maybe I saw it different because I'm a girl. I could do something about it, but I didn't think you would. Neil turned away, running his fingers through his hair. Now wait, protested Cleon. You can't go setting tradition on its ear. Hazing is the way new boys become pages. They have to earn respect from the older ones, and we teach them to obey orders. So I should let this go on because it's always been this way, she asked. Cleon, the prince, and Faleron all nodded. No, she said flatly. I know what you mean, Cleon. I do your chores. She met each boy's eyes. But this custom leads to worse things. Cleon sends me for papers, but someone else traps a first year in a corner and keeps making him do stupid tasks. He'll maybe hit the first year to smarten him when the first year slows down, and that is dead wrong. If we take this as pages, what about when we are knights? Do we say, oh, now I'm going to be nice for the weak and small? Or do we do as we learned when we were pages? She stopped, breathing hard. It was the longest speech she'd ever made. I don't mean to lecture. You can laugh and say I'm a silly girl, but when I see anyone big pick on someone small, well, there's going to be a fight. She looked at Neil. Jorn and his friends are out there looking for someone to hurt. I want to stop them. I love that so much. That's why I had to actually read it.
Yeah, no,
because it's so good. And the idea of just because something is how it's been done doesn't mean it's right. Right? And then the idea of, maybe it's because I idolize chivalry that I'm doing this, but do you think that we're just going to suddenly stop doing it because we're knights?
It's like, oh, this is what knights do.
No. And that, to me, that entire speech, makes me think of, not to be leftist in chat, but not to be leftist on Maine, but the idea about how the police force works in real life, and the idea of what, so you're gonna act that way to each other, but somehow you're just gonna not do that to other people? You know what I mean? So, I think that's a really important thing. Okay,
absolutely.
So that night, Neil joins her, and they find, after he's saying, "You are the oldest 10-year-old I have ever met," which I love, because that's something that someone would have said to me.
I'm sure someone did at some point.
I was born middle-aged, and Kel is born middle-aged representation. So Neil joins her, and they find Joran and the boys tormenting another student. They all fight and get stopped by Numair. You remember Numair. Who freezes them with magic and tells them to fuck off. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. Yeah. After being unfrozen, they all make it away unscathed and unreported.
He almost forgets to...
to unfreeze them, and then Neil has to be like, spell! After a blizzard causes a muddy... Over the next few nights, all of the study group, excepting the prince, join her on her nightly prowl. After several nights, Joran's group stops tormenting the younger pages altogether, because Neil, a 15-year-old, and Cleon, a very large 13-year-old, are too big to fight with. They're like, shit. So they stop doing it. After blizzard causes a muddy thaw, the pages can't use the training courts outside. Wilden has them run the curtain wall for exercise, something that terrifies Kel because of the height. She does okay just looking at people's feet, but when Wilden asks her to look over the city and answer a question, she freezes in terror and has a panic attack. Wilden talks her off of the edge, and she's brought out of her panic attack. And I honestly love this part.
Honestly, from here on, I absolutely love
Wilden.
Wilden.
Because
the way he treats her, it's like he doesn't like that she's there, but he doesn't hate her.
Yeah, and he's very specific. He sees a child afraid of something, and he sees a person with a phobia, and he sees someone who
wants to be one of his charges who wants to be a knight has come to something which could prevent them from doing so. And he's like, no, let's work through this.
Yeah, despite the fact that she then is like, oh my god, this is the reason he's never going to let me stay. Yeah. Because now he knows I'm afraid of heights. And the fact that he turns her to him and he's like, Kel, Mindolin, look at me right now. You are on solid ground, And he's like, I absolutely love that scene for so many reasons. And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
In April, Kel's lance shatters, though her aim has been improving, and Joran hands her another weighted one with a smile. She is overtaken by a sense of calm, and is able to hit, this is one of those moments
you played yourselves.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, okay, I see. This is how this is now. And so she's just, I understand this feeling of, oh, I see. There's nothing left, there's nothing to, what's the word I'm looking for? The phrase.
Lose?
The turn of... Yes, I have nothing left to lose. Thank you. And she is able to hit the Quinton perfectly, which we haven't even been talking about it. It's called a Quinton.
I talked about, to be fair, it doesn't really happen much.
No.
It happens the time that I mentioned it, and it happens the time you mentioned it.
I know. It's the Quinton training dummy is, weighted so that if you hit the wrong place on it, it, hits them with a sandbag as they go by. So now she is able to hit it perfectly.
Over and over and
5 times in a row. And everyone's, cheering. You're like, hey, yeah! And Wilden releases her from practice for the rest of the morning. He's like, oh, because she does it perfectly. And he's like, okay, well, if you can do it every time. And then she does. And he's like, okay, well, bye then.
That was impressive.
Go take a bath.
You are good.
Then the end of year examinations happen, and they're just anticlimactic. Neil reveals that no one involved with Alana is allowed to be a judge at all. None of them are allowed to take part in the examinations because the examinations are happening because the people who are, saying that Alana tricked her way into her shield, there was, this big conspiracy, I guess, to get her shield. And so the only
they
way...
knew, and they did these things to cheat her way through it.
So the only way now that is, the conservatives in the government, the traditionalists, will agree to things is if they can have impartial, quote-unquote, judges do all these things. So not even Duke Gareth the Elder is allowed on these judge panels.
Because he was slightly involved with
because
Alana.
he was Alana's training, training, whatever Wilden is now.
Yeah, training master, whatever.
Training master, thank you. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm missing words now. And then they all pass, and after a lazy May, they all prepare for their summer camping trip in June to the Royal Forest.
Okay, and that's where I stopped writing because I had to get ready.
Which is chapter 10, the Royal Forest.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, basically. There is the trip to camp. Basically, we're going to 5th grade camp. So it starts out beautiful, and everybody's just kind of like being chill.
Is 5th grade camp is that just like a thing everywhere? Does everyone just go to 5th grade camp?
I know there's 6th grade camp in most places, but I feel like we just got a lot of extra camps in our lives. Like, I went to 5th grade camp, 6th grade camp, and 7th grade camp.
Please tell us in the comments and stuff.
How many times did you go to camp with your classmates?
Did you have a 5th grade camp? Did you
do it? Yeah. Does everybody do
other
that?
Parts of the world? Because there are people who listen to us in other parts of the world, apparently. Do you guys have, like, a camp you go to at age 10 or so? Please let us know.
Okay, so we're going to 5th grade camp. So it starts out beautiful. Everything's great. And then, by midday, I think, everything turns to shit. Like, the weather is just horrible. And so, they're trudging through, and I think it's one of Jordan's guys, I don't remember which one, but is like...
the one that starts with a V.
Yeah, Vincent.
Sure.
Vincent. That's it.
Vincent. Yeah, there's Vincent Garvey, which that is just the worst name. And Zahir.
A name.
I think those are the 3 boys. Garvey. Yeah. Your mother hated you.
Right?
Garvey.
But Vincent's like super not down with this. He's like, we have no reason to be going in this horrible weather. Like, it's bad for our and Wilden, of course, has come into hearing distance at that very moment, because apparently Vincent hasn't learned that he's magic and teleports, is basically what Kel says, and I love that. Sorry. So he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Do you disagree? Well, what would you have us do? And he's like, well, I mean, we're not going. There's no battle we're going to. So why did we not just, hole up somewhere or find the nearest town? And he's like, oh, so I should burden the nearest town with your monstrous appetites and maybe have them run low on food because you didn't like the rain? And it's just like, God damn. And he's like, oh, so how do you feel? Do you agree? And then one of the other boys is like, I mean, I think it might be Cleon or someone. Someone's like, our horses would probably appreciate not being in the mud. And there's a bunch of boys that are like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think we're good. I think we should chill out. And he says, well, what do you think, probationary Paige? She's like, I think it doesn't matter what I think. He's like, he makes a little face, and she's like, that's not how it sounded, which I feel that's so hard.
Yeah, I know, right?
She's like, he's like, well, how did you mean it? Which is just is such a conversation I've had before.
I know. I'm just thinking of the time I got in trouble for saying yes, sir, to Tony. Yeah.
Oh my God. But no, she's just like, I mean, you're our commanding officer. Even if we were true knights, you are the head warrior on this trail. So if we, waste time questioning your authority and questioning your decisions, then that's just time that we're, not paying attention to our surroundings. She's like, the Yavani are very strict about this. If somebody did this, if somebody was behaving this way, it's grounds for beheading. Yeah. She's just like, this isn't,
And Hawkween is like, yeah, bitch.
He's like, this is my girl. He's like, say what you will. We raise them right.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he reveals to Kel that the sparrows she thought she left behind have actually been trailing her and are also riding on her saddle. She's like, God damn it, you guys. I gave you extra seed. Was it really so hard to stay there?
I literally asked Salma to feed you guys for me.
She's like, you guys were, I let you know you were going to be cared for. Crown's like, bitch, you tripping. I forgot how much I love Crown. Like, I remember the birds and their personalities, I know. But, like, just killed me. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to Squire.
I know. Like, so many times in this book, I'm just like,
yeah.
But anyway, so they're there. That's an important fact.
Yes.
So, slowly but surely they make their way, and they end up at the Longhouse where they're going to be staying. And it is that, it's basically an empty place, and she's just told, go build your latrine on the other side, go dig your latrine away from the boys, and you're going to sleep wherever the wildcat sleeps. She wants to sleep inside, you're sleeping inside. She wants to sleep outside, you're sleeping outside. She's your designated chaperone.
Pretty much.
Which I dig. Yeah. There could be worse chaperones.
It's true.
And then almost immediately after, basically, they're like, oh, we're gonna go out on the trail. Okay. So Kel and Neil and Merrick climb the tree. Scouted out for us. And she's just like, I can't do it. And he's basically he's like, I'm giving you the tools you need. It's not about, because he realizes that it's not about what she's afraid of. It's about what she's willing to conquer.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I need you to try. You cannot be a knight if you can't do this.
Yeah.
So you need to get up that tree. And so she gets to a certain point, and then she almost falls. The birds come to join her, and it's bizarre. Yeah. It's such a weird...
And, like, they literally have to, like, get her down.
Merrick
she, like, has panic attacks.
Down.
And,
she's fine, and then she, like, slips on a branch, and she just cannot take that.
And then Wilden's like, okay, well, you gotta do this every day for the next 2 months now.
While we're here, you're climbing trees. And, like, she at first is kind of like, she feels like he's... Or, no, that's it. Neil is like, why is he picking on you? He knows you're afraid of heights. Why is he doing this to you? And she's like, he's not doing anything to me. He's helping me to get over it. I went up 23 feet today. Like, I'm getting better. Like, this is working.
Yeah.
And then after some, like, great camaraderie and great, it's a great camp chapter. She is awoken by the wildcat one night because someone needs their help. Yeah. Spydren have been spotted. They took a woman. And so Kel rolls up her sleeping bag as quick as she can because she's like, I gotta go save somebody. There's somebody in trouble.
The King Zone is there.
Yeah.
Headed by Raoul of Golden Lake. Lord Sir. Because apparently now he's been, after doing something in the Immortals where he was, So, which is funny to me because he was the only one in the original group of friends who wasn't there until... just funny to me. But he's Sir Lord now.
Sir Lord.
But he prefers to call him Sir. So...
Says Kasim.
Yeah, I know. I love... We know him from... He's in the Alana books, right? Am I wrong?
See, I had that same moment. I was like, I'm pretty sure he is, but I honestly can't remember.
I think he is. I think so. He seems like someone from those books, from the Song of the Lioness books, that we got brought back. Otherwise, why did he have a name? Like...
Kinda, yeah.
Well, also because... Okay, I won't say that.
Yeah, right.
So, for some reason...
I just remembered. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. This is such a good series.
I forgot how much I love this series, honestly. And I thought I remembered loving it as much as I did.
Yeah. But, for some reason, the pages, who are 11 to 13-year-olds, by the way...
Reminder.
Because Kel turns 11 at camp, and she remembers this because she gets down from the tree and is puking.
Oh, I forgot that part, yeah.
But the 11 to 13-year-olds are recruited to, well, plus Neil, recruited to help fight the Spydrens. Lord Raoul explains the whole thing and has each page paired with one of his soldiers, and Kel is paired with a Bajir man, Kasim, who is very kind to her sparrows, and I love him. she describes him as like stony faced, and then Kel's like, and he's like, you have a feather rash, and she's like, what? And like she realizes that all of the sparrows are on her, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, they follow me, I can't control them. And he like opens his hands and he has seed in it, and they all fly to his hands, and he just lights up, and I'm like, oh, I love you.
I know, it's just like, baby, sweet.
So they all start searching. After a while of searching, they take a quick break, and Kel admits to the Sparrow Crown that she wishes she was Dane so she could tell them to go scout for her. After they start searching again, Crown and other Sparrow come back holding a stick with fresh web on it. Kasim makes her take it to Rowell, and after many pages vouch for Kel and her birds, Rowell decides that they should follow the birds with Kel on point. And Kel's like, no, what are you doing? And he's like, are these your birds or not? I mean, yeah. Do you believe they'll find it? Yeah. Okay, then you're on point.
Then do what I'm telling you, Paige.
Because why not at this point? Not long after, the sparrows lead them to a cave where Rowell confirms via spyglass that the Spydrin are located there. Spydrins, apparently. Spydrins. I think that it should be a non-count.
I found that strange as well.
It should be a non-count noun, in my opinion. 1 Spydrin, 2 Spydrin, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That just seems that way to me. But no, 1 Spydrin, 2 Spydrins. I don't like that. I'm going to retcon that. It's just Spydrin. Sheep.
Yeah.
But he confirms that that's where they are located. They set about planning their attack and breaking the groups up. The first and second year pages are made lookouts at the back of the party, armed with spears and torches. During the fight, Spydrin comes out of the stream, and Kel alerts the group with an at the rear. Seaver, whose father died by Spydrin, rushes at the thing. But Kel trips him just in time to get him out of the line of fire from the spinneret.
Because she recognized it from the first chapter. Come back around.
Kel ends up just commanding the other pages. Like, she's like, 3 steps forward and stuff like that, and they just do it because she's Kel. And she just has authority. She doesn't know this yet.
It comes with her height.
And it comes with her friend shape, in my opinion. So, she commands the other pages, and they're able to live through the battle with the help of their archers. And also with her spear, when the Spydrin comes to her, she immediately forgets all of her staff training and weapons training, and just uses the spear like a glaive and guts the fucking thing. Love that for her.
Yeah.
The last day of term, after they return to the palace, the king addresses them at dinner and basically says, good job, then fucks off. Wilden then asks Kel to come to his office after the meal, and everyone, including Kel, assumes the worst. However, he then tells her that she can return in the fall. And he's like, I'm going to talk to you like I would talk to one of my own daughters. And she's like, wait, he has children? He has a family?
I mean, I guess I assumed he had a wife and kids, but, I didn't contextualize that.
I love it. But he's like, you're going to start changing after this next year. Like, you're going to start hitting puberty. Your body's going to be changing in ways that won't be able to reverse if you keep on this, track. And, I urge you to think it over. And she's like, so I can't come back? And he's like, if you want to return in the fall, you can. I'm just asking you to think about it.
And I absolutely love it because it's like, okay, it's not that you can't. You are absolutely physically capable and mentally capable. I see that now.
But I
still
want to look out for you.
I still am old school protective papa who believes that regardless, women need to be protected. Yeah. And so I'm going to talk to you as such. And it's like, it's super old school and not necessary, but at the same time, it comes from a good place. Yeah. And I love it.
It's not out of it's not malicious.
Yeah.
It's just misguided. 2 weeks after the end of term, and after moving to her parents' townhome in Chorus, Kel receives a package. Much like the other ones she's received that year, it is plainly wrapped with no note. Inside is a beautiful tilting saddle that's incredibly expensive. After examining the saddle, Kel finds a note in a secret compartment. The note says, "God is blessed, Lady Paige." And that's the last thing in the book.
Okay, and spoilers for who the anonymous person is. Basically, so Raoul totally just went and told Alana, and she was like, "Oh, she enjoys tilting," because Alana didn't really care about that.
No,
not at all.
Alana is too small. She's way too small.
Way too small. Kel is a large person, already taller than.
She's literally taller than her dad now.
Yep.
She grew 3 inches.
But
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's so good, and honestly, and you left out my favorite part is everybody assumes the worst, and so everybody says their goodbyes to her.
They do.
And she says her goodbyes to everyone, and she said, "I'll miss you, Peach Blossom, but I know that they'll take care of you." And
Dane will take care of you. Maybe she'll buy him like she said she would.
And then she leaves Wilden's office, just shouting their names in the halls, saying, "I get to come back."
I know, but as they're all leaving the mess hall and everything, Seaver's like, "She saved my life." I love it. Oh, they're all so sweet. They're her boys.
I love
this
her boys.
entire series should be renamed as Kel and her boys.
Kel and the boys.
Kel and her boys. They're her boys specifically.
They are.
They all are. And it gets and that in Lady Night, I'm so excited. Oh my god, guys, this okay, I would rate this book at maybe 3.5 to 4 stars out of 5. It's good.
Yeah,
it is. It's a solid book. I would say that Lady Night in this series is a 5-star book. It's one of the best books I've read in my life.
Yeah. It's really good.
So, I am so excited. So, what was our favorite part of this book? Kel.
God. I love so much of this book.
Honestly.
Honestly, the chapter of them going, to camping is sincerely just joyful. I enjoy it so much, and it just had so much of this book is really good and just rich, and Tammy got her groove, and she just she knew what she originally had for the training, and she took it and made it better. And so she had that all nice and solid, so she could just put story around what she already knew they were going to be doing. And it's just oh, nice. Has much more structure than Hogwarts, you know?
Yeah, it does.
So much more structure. I love it.
I just really enjoyed the world building. We're learning so much about how the kingdom functions. Mm-hmm. And it gets even better in the later books, and we go if you're not a fan of things having them learn about inventory management and stuff like that, then this might not be the series for you. But we fucking love this shit.
Yes.
So, just the day-to-day shit, the things that the people that the regular everyday soldiers do, not just the knights and shit like that. Oh my god, it's so good. I'm so excited, guys. And in the next one, we're gonna meet some of my favorite characters. Lalassa is in the next one. She's so good. What's our least favorite part of this book? I can't think of anything about this book I don't like.
Yeah, honestly, the things that I don't like are things you're not supposed to like. So that's exactly what you're supposed to be feeling.
Honestly. I can't.
Kel doesn't realize, but she is more of a trailblazer than Alana is.
Yeah.
Because she is being given these rules. Because she is having to prove herself so that every other girl doesn't have to.
Yeah, and she's being unapologetically her. Mm-hmm. In this entire series. She's not trying to fit what other people are. She's not trying to blend in. She is going in being Kel. And she is going in straight up being okay, well, I'm going to do what's right, even if other people don't care. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be the girl, even though they want to make me forget it or feel bad about it. I'm going to show them that I'm a girl and I don't care. I don't forget this. I'm not trying to be one of the boys. I am trying to be a knight, and I'm trying to be me while doing it. And I just absolutely adore this.
Yes. Absolutely. I love it in contrast with Alana because of how she constantly was like berating herself for girly things and things like that, you know, whereas Kel is just like, man, I just do what I do.
Yeah.
And she has such like a pretty laid back, like, just like, we do what we do family, that it's just like...
And what I love is that while I see Alana as more gender fluid and definitely non-binary, I see Kel is very much, she is definitely, like, she's female and that's how she feels. But she's doing it in a gender non-conforming way.
Yes.
So she is very in touch with, I am a girl, and I agree that I'm a girl, and I don't want to be anything other than girl, but the way I interact with girlhood is different than how other people do it, and I'm not going to care just because of that.
Yeah. She was in the first chapter, she's going on about, like, I mean, okay, so she was going over, like, her options since she viewed, she's like, no, I'm not gonna be a fucking probationary, like, member of this group. Nobody else has to do it. Fuck that. Which I love.
But I don't, and then she's like, but I don't want to go to convent school either.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to go to convent school, and I don't want to wait around to be eligible for a Queen's Rider. Like,
you have to be 15 to do that.
Yeah.
I might be living in the Yamani Islands by then.
So it's just like...
God,
it's good. It's just a good book.
It really is. Yeah, I love it. Who's our favorite character?
Oh my god, I have so many.
Kel.
Again, we fucking relate this back to the Alana books, and everybody's got so much character. Each of the boys has a character.
It's not like Francis. They're not Francis.
They're not Francis.
Did Francis ever say anything? No, he just died.
He just died.
Whereas all of these...
as a figure to die.
And all of these boys... They continue through all of the books, and they are still recognizably them.
Yeah.
Like, Cleon is still Cleon by the last book. Merrick is still Merrick, and so is Seaver, and they just grow up to be these just men who they continue to be her boys, and I just...
Yeah.
We haven't met Owen yet, but Owen stays to be her boy, too. I love Owen. He's in the next book.
I love so many characters in this series specifically.
Who's our least favorite character? I mean, like...
The bad guys, I guess.
I know, it's just like, yeah. But the thing is that there's still great character. I think the worst character is Zahir, because he doesn't have a personality other than xenophobia. Like,
and what's crazy is he disappears after...
He does. He literally disappears, and there's nothing that they say. He is replaced with Garvey.
Yeah.
What happens to Zahir?
I feel like I remember him coming back.
He does,
it might just be that interaction, that got something out, that jostled something in him. I hope, if I'm remembering correctly, that was just his tipping point of, I'm not going to hang out with the bullies anymore.
I don't remember, though.
Anymore.
He just literally, it's that, like, fight in weapons practice, and then I noticed, it was like, and then he was Garvey, and I was like, where did Zahir go?
I honestly expected there to be a follow-up to that, like, he was
and then there wasn't.
Else.
So, as far as I know, maybe I don't remember. I think he comes back.
And I love the casual drop of, because they're talking about, when she's afraid of heights, and they're like, what? Next he's going to have you run up to the tallest tower.
Yeah, Baylor's Needle.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh no, pages aren't allowed up there, because one year, after failing his exams, a kid killed himself.
Yeah, just dropping that in there.
Threw himself off the fucking roof.
So pages are no longer allowed.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Caswell.
Yeah, he just jumped off 6 years ago. Just like, what the fuck? But yeah. So, we like all the characters.
Yeah.
We like all the parts of the book. Is there any favorite part of the book that you can think of that we haven't already talked about?
There's just a bunch of moments, honestly. I think I talked about most of my favorite moments. It's all just so good. Great. There's great interaction, great fucking character growth in such a short time, but like not unbelievable character growth. Everything is very rooted. It's good.
Yeah. What is your headcanon for this? what is your headcanon for this book?
Well, until proven otherwise, that thing about Zahir.
Yeah,
But what was one?
My headcanon is all of the teachers are taking bets about which boys are in love with Kel.
Because she won't notice.
No, she doesn't. And that's like a running joke with the faculty. That like Taka has like he's the one who's like, no, it's Cleon. But Miles is like, I don't know, maybe it's Neil, you know.
Like, no.
You know, Edabelle is like, I don't know, that Merrick is, maybe it's Merrick. So I think that's what's happening here.
Yes.
Is that all of the faculty are like, I don't know, let's just think. Who is it?
Those things you do when you're just around kids and you're like, well, what do you think that one's gonna do?
Who do you think that one's gonna be? Like, when I was working with elementary schoolers, it was a lot of like, that one's the little lesbian.
I was gonna say, that was a game that we would play in theater, in the makeup room. We would be like, yeah, who's gonna be gay?
It was a lot of them, actually. Yeah. You know.
Unsurprisingly, I was right about every single one so far. Well, pretty much, but she's never gonna get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. And yeah, I think she just got engaged to a man.
She did,
and I'm like, oof, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, but what was, okay, you already said what your headcanon is. It's about Zahir.
And also the part where Raoul just kept reporting back to Alana.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that has to be legit. Like, I don't know if they ever, like, say that that's what happens, but that's totally what happens.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, this was almost 2 hours long, so this will be fun for me to edit. Yeah. So what are we reading next month, sister?
Next month, we get to actually just be a Paige, you know? She finally is past that test period, and it's called Paige.
It is. Great names for this one. It's first test, Paige, Squire, Lady Knight. Love it. Straightforward, so just good. Like Kel.
Yes, abso-fucking-lutely.
So yeah, as a reminder, I'm Risa.
I am Ariana. And, keep on reading.